Welcome to this video. My name is Eva. I'm super excited to be making this video today because it's going to be about the huge topic of moving to a different country. So for me, my story a little bit, I'm from Germany. I grew up in Germany. I've always lived in Germany. And then I always had the dream to actually live somewhere else, maybe live somewhere where it's warm, where there's a lot of sunshine, and that was my goal, my dream since I was a little child basically. I always wanted to move away. So I want to share some advice and things that I've learned because now I'm in the Canary Islands, small islands, they belong to Spain, but they are geographically located next to Africa, and I'm just really excited to be here. And yeah, but I've learned a lot of things in the past years and I want to share them with you. So the first thing that you need to know is actually when you have the desire that you want to move to a different country, is actually to figure out where do you want to move to, because there's so many amazing places and each country has their certain pros and cons and different cultures. So you have to figure out, okay, what place works for me. And for me, how I managed to figure that out was that I traveled a lot. For me, it was a lot. So I traveled when I was a child. And my mom actually took me to a lot of places in Italy. And I love Italy, but still my heart felt more drawn to Spanish, Latino culture. So I was thinking, okay, I want to move to Spain. And then I was thinking, oh, but maybe I will move to Mexico, or maybe, yeah, I just didn't know. So the way to find out is actually to travel to different places. So after I finished university, I traveled in Asia, and it really like opened my eyes to so many things because it's always super different if you see a YouTube video or if you see people sitting around in Bali and enjoying it versus the reality of it. And for me, what traveling in Asia showed me that I want to stay in Europe. I don't want to have so much issue with visa because I'm from Germany. I don't need any visa if I go to Spain. So I really like that I can go back to Germany, go back to my family in 1 or maximum 2 days because there's always direct flights from the Canary Islands to Germany, or even I can always go back to Spain and then go from Spain to Germany. So that was for me a huge priority, and also I really just like the culture. So for you, super important, if you don't know yet where you want to move to, figure it out by traveling around and seeing what countries you like, what culture you like. Yeah, just traveling is a huge eye opener. So if you have the chance, if you have the opportunity, do it, because I think it's just so different. It's so different what you read maybe in a blog or what you see on YouTube versus the reality of actually being in a place. Because before traveling, I was also thinking, oh, maybe I'm gonna move to Bali, and now I never want to live in Bali. So not because Bali is bad or something, it's just not what I want to do. It doesn't reflect my character in a way. So yeah, that is what you have to do first, figure out where you want to actually live. And then the second thing that you have to that I would recommend, I mean you don't have to, but that I would recommend, is to actually live in that country for at least 1 month. That is the minimum, but possibly if possible a lot longer, so a couple of months, because the thing is that usually in the beginning you always have some sort of honeymoon stage, and it's just like meeting, maybe if you're dating around. Usually, I mean, for some people it works out, but usually you would not marry a person just after meeting them for 2 days, because usually in the beginning you only see the amazing things about the person, and then with time you actually realize, okay, does this person actually have the same goals and values? And it's the same with moving to a country, because the country can look great on paper, such with me, for example, Bali or Thailand, but does it actually represent the desires, the hobbies that I have? For me, my hobby is just speaking Spanish and dancing salsa. So and having that certain relative proximity to Germany. So that is why I would really recommend to stay at least 1 month in that country, but preferably more month. Just to realize, okay, how is it really if I have a normal day, how would it be in that country. So I think that is super, super important. And the first step that I would recommend is to inform yourself about that country. So how is the social system? How is the work, and like how is the work situation? Is there a lot of unemployment, or is there a lot of employment? How is the climate? Are there any natural disasters, or are there like all of those things? How is the real estate market? Is it expensive? Is it cheap? What type of food is there, etc., etc. So inform yourself. If you have a family, obviously inform yourself also about the school system if your children go to school. So all of like how is the taxation system. So inform yourself about that country. That is the next step, and I would highly recommend to do that before you actually move to that country, because it will save you so much pressure and so much hassle. I think the better you plan and prepare before you move to a country, the better you prepare it, the better your experience is going to be. I think, of course, there's like people are so different. For some people, it works to just go and see. But I think for many people, especially if you have a family, you should really prepare a lot, and you should really research a lot, prepare a lot. And it's true that some things you just realize once you're in that country, but still you should prepare for sure. Like learn about that country, learn about the cultures as well, and also learn. If you really think about, okay, I really want to move to that country, I would recommend to learn the language. That is also, I think, a really important step, not just to understand like the basics, but also to integrate into that culture. I would highly recommend to learn Spanish. And yeah, and then after you've done that, after you checked, okay, the language is, you don't need to speak it perfectly because it will take usually many years, but just the basics you should definitely know. Like if you want to go to a supermarket, that you can buy things, and that is super, super important. And then the next step is to actually inform yourself about moving to the country. So what is the process? What do you need to do? And I'm so sorry for the background noise. I hope it's not too much. I think my roommate is cooking something. So yeah, whatever. So prepare, like inform yourself how the moving process is. What do you need? Do you need certain visa? Do you need certain documents? Do you need to, okay, maybe you have all your documents in paper, maybe you need to make them digital. And what like do you already have, for example, figuring out, okay, what lawyer can I use, what person can I have, like what contacts. Already figure out the contacts that you will need once you move to that country. That will help you so much. And yeah, so that is the next step. And also, of course, find support groups, find people who have already moved to that country. That is super, super important. Because then it feels more relatable. Because for at least for me, when I was younger and I had the dream, okay, I want to move to a different country, it felt impossible because my family, like all of them lived in Germany, so nobody moved abroad, so I just felt so impossible. But just if you know people who have already moved abroad, and maybe even to that country where you want to move to, it helps you so much to get a realistic perspective, to ask questions. So that is super, super important to have some contacts. Really, really important to have that support system. And how you do it is you can go on Facebook, or you can go on Instagram as well, and just on social media in general, and look for people, look for groups, expat groups, and that can be quite helpful. Yeah. So that's, and then after you've done that, after you've done all of the research, then it's actually, and you figured out, okay, you lived already in that country maybe for a couple of months, you already feel like this is it, I want to live there, then actually prepare to move. And this can be quite different. For example, for me, I don't have so many things, so for me, I don't really need to ship any containers. I can just, if I visit my family, I maybe always bring some more things. So I just went with a suitcase. But if you, for example, have a family and you have a lot of stuff, obviously you have to prepare a lot more. And yeah, so yeah, and then so the moving process, that is important. Obviously, figure out what you're going to do. If you quit your apartment, if you rent it out, whatever you want to do, that is important. And Yeah, and then obviously find an apartment in a new country. Maybe I would recommend to get an Airbnb for 1 or 2 or 3 months. And then once you're in the country, to look for something long term. About buying a house, I mean, everyone has to do what feels right for you, but I would highly recommend to not just buy a house without never living in that specific city. And because you don't know the neighborhood and nothing, so I would first recommend to actually see that place, and if you have the money afterwards, buy something. And some general advice that I want to share. So first of all, if you have a family, you have to prepare a lot, because I've definitely seen families who didn't prepare well. They're moving to a different country. It's a huge thing. It's not just something that you do in a day, and it really messed up a little bit the family life, because obviously with children it's even more stressful. So if you plan very well, you will have a much better experience. And another mistake that you should not do is just move to a country without really knowing the country, because yeah, I think some people, they just have the dream, okay, I will go to India and then it will be amazing. But have you actually researched India? Have you actually lived in India? And then they live there maybe for a couple of months and they realize, oh my god, it's so different than the country that I'm from. And then they go back. But if you have children, it will everything might be a lot more complicated. So my recommendation, really plan a lot. Also, and what I would highly recommend is to save up a lot of money, because the more money you have, the better the process will be, because then you can just hire a person who can do a lot of the legal things for you. I mean, you still have to research obviously the taxation system, etc., but a lot of work you can just pay someone to do it for you. And it will also just, if you maybe don't find a good apartment, you can maybe you just have just some money saved up, and it will be just much better if you have money saved up, because things can go wrong. Sometimes things go wrong, but if you have money saved up, it's just so much better. Another thing that I would highly recommend is to already do some emotional work, because usually if you have such a big life transition like moving to a different country, at least for me and also for probably a lot of people, a lot of emotions can come up. So let it be overwhelm, because you completely change your environment, you go so much out of your comfort zone. So a lot of overwhelm will usually come up, and that's what helped me, is to have a plan and do everything step by step, and of course have the overview of the things that you have to do, but then just focus on one thing at a time. That is really important. And also more emotions can come up, such as grief, because you have a life obviously you have a life before that, so you leave that behind. For many people that can cause a lot of grief and a lot of shame also for many people, because they feel like, I leave my family behind, I'm maybe a bad person. But in reality, if you follow your dreams and you find a place where you are happy, you're not selfish. I mean, obviously it always depends on the situation, but it's okay to follow your dreams. And fear also is an emotion that can come up. I would highly recommend, if you're afraid to move to a different country, just write down all your limiting beliefs. Also write down the worst case scenarios, and then write down, okay, what are possible solutions for that. Exactly. And then also, what I want to share is overcome mental blockages. So again, write down your limiting beliefs. That can help a lot, because I feel sometimes, if at least for me, if I'm in my head a lot, things can just seem impossible to do. But if you actually write it down and write solution next to the problems, it feels so much better, because very often there is a solution for a problem. And examples would be, I will not be able to make friends. That would be a limiting belief. And then write down next to it how you can make friends. For example, I will join a volleyball course, or I will go to meetings, or like meetups, or surf classes, things like that. And if you do a hobby many times, you always meet the same people, and that is how you make friends. And the next limiting belief would be, what if it doesn't work out? I mean, if it doesn't work out, you maybe lost some money, some time, but if you planned enough, you can usually just go back into your home country again, and it's just you're not a failure if it doesn't work out, or if you realize, okay, this country is maybe not my favorite country. It will be such a huge learning lesson for you and amazing for personal growth. So yeah, don't be afraid that it will not work out, because if it works out, it will be amazing because you will be so much happier. And if it does not work out, it will be just a huge personal growth lesson for you. And now the last part is some mindset shifts that I had to do and that really helped me was, first of all, the quote, the grass is always is not always greener on the other side. And I think that's absolutely true, but still I feel like moving to a different country, for me, it's not about, okay, that country is better than another country, because no country is perfect and there's always ups and pros and cons. Like, for example, the job situation in Germany in general is a little bit better, in my opinion, than in Spain. But in Spain, you just have, in my opinion, really high life quality depending on the weather. So, I mean, depending also on where you live exactly in your situation. But I would highly recommend to just listen to your heart. What country feels right for you? For me, the Canary Islands feel right. For another person, the Canary Islands would be not the right place. So listen to your heart. And I think if you actually move to a country that feels good to your heart, you will be so much happier. And yeah, like I'm so much happier in the Canary Islands, even though I'm figuring out so many things, than I was in Germany, just because of the sunshine and the good weather. And also a huge mindset shift that helped me was, it doesn't have to be forever. Like, you don't need to, at least for me, if I one day decide, okay, I don't like the Canary Islands anymore, for example, they're boring and I don't like it here, then I can always go back to Germany. So nothing is lost, and maybe I've gained so many skills that are super helpful when I move back to Germany, if I move back to Germany. And yeah, and the last thing that I want to share with you is, you're not selfish for wanting to try out different things, wanting to move to a different country. And if you have that dream, you should definitely follow that dream and just, I mean, obviously depending on the circumstance, but if you have your dream, usually you have what it takes to reach that dream. And I wish you good luck, and I believe in you that you can do it. So I'm really, really happy for you if you take those steps. And if you want, you can also share in the comment section which country you would love to move to, if you have already lived in a different country. And yeah, and I wish you a very beautiful day. Like the video and subscribe to my channel, and I hope you have a beautiful day.